Hello, my name's Duncan, and welcome to Back Away from Donkey and Path Books. I'm here with Ruby the Pom, who's decided to join me, so she'll have to go in a second. This video, I've made no notes for it. It's just a very random thing that's come to my mind. And it's... what's going to happen to all the books? Now, hold back. What I mean is, we have certain amounts of books. Do you want to get down? Do you want to get down? What are we doing, Ruby? Happiest Pom in the world. Hey? Yeah, what I mean is more and more sort of older books are harder to get hold of because they're out of print. And not all have been digitised and not all will be digitised. And there's specific genres that seem to be novelisations, some sort of genre fictions, and what is going to happen to them all? At the moment, you're managing to pick certain bits up if you're lucky in eBay and second-hand stores, but surely somebody should be preserving these because they've got value. To me, all books have value. And I'm going to have to put you down in a minute, Ruby, because I need to show some things. But yes, I got rid of Ruby a second. But yes, novelisations is one thing. I'm like novelisations. I think things like, this is Alan Lee Foster's Alien adaptation. That is always going to be around. It's always going to be around. And, sorry, just skip through here. Star Wars adaptations, they'll always be around. But will a weird adaptation like Piers Anthony doing a Total Recall adaptation, when Total Recall was actually based on a Philip K. Dick short story? That's a bit of a weird one. No Alan Dean Foster one here of Outland, which actually is pretty good novelisation if you like those. And his Black Hole ones. I've got a lot of Dean Foster stuff. But is anybody but me interested in Offshoots from V? Written by Anne Crispin. And that's the original novelisation. Well, how about the Meteor adaptation? A film that hardly anybody really watches. A novelisation of a film hardly anybody knows. So it's... but that's my thing, is some books get preserved in the British Library, and I'm assuming there's an American library, the whatever the big American one's called, I can't remember. But things like these little novelisations, they are not, bar the Star Wars ones, they are not, as far as I know, digitised. But it's not just novelisations, it's obscure little things. This one, Trauma 2020 books by Peter Beer. Beautiful Peter Elson covers on those. They are totally out of print. Nobody knows about them. Nobody knows how to get them. So when all the paperback copies disappear, because it was, as far as I know, it was never done in hardback, what's going to happen to them? So is literature just going to disappear? And you always think, well, if it disappears, is it really worth it? Do people really, really want to watch it? Sorry if it's got very dark in here. It's suddenly got very dark outside. The weather the past few days has been terrible. We've had winter storm over the weekend, 85 mile an hour winds and stuff. But it was brighter when I started this. But anyway, I digress. Like Battlestar Galactica, original novelisation there. And there's a bunch of books to go with them. I've got about 4 or 5 of them. There's number 2. How about World War III? Mentioned this before. This is a mini-series that nobody else but me remembers, starring David Soul, and this is the adaptation of it, which is actually pretty good. Or we've got Buck Rogers. I've got the second one. This was a unproduced script from the original TV show. So all these have got interest. Some of them, they may not be the best literature. I'd argue some of them are good literature, some of them aren't, like any other forms. But who is going to preserve them? I've got no answers to this. But I worry the fact that some of these books, like, will disappear. It's, if you look at the history of film, silent films, 80% of silent films that were produced before, I think it's 1930, do not exist. And it's not just small ones. Small films nobody's heard of. There's some big, big names of films that were big films at the time that have just totally disappeared. There is not copies of those films around there, and they are not going to get them back. And that's why I said some of these books have value. You may not know it now, or you may not know it then, but they are historical documents. They show the history of writing. They show the history of film. Some of these novelizations. But I said even if you go to ones that aren't novelizations, children's book. I've got a thing about Dragonfall 5 books because I read them when I was a kid. These are incredibly difficult to find. This one was a recent find, but they are great little children's books. Some great artwork in them. But they are not republished or anything like that, and they are not digitized, so they are in danger of just totally disappearing off the face of the earth, bar people like me who keep hold of them. And imagine that I was no longer here, and maybe somebody doesn't know the worth of all the stuff I've got, and they could just get pulped, which would make me sad. And even something as well known as, I've got here puffin copies of Thieves' World books. And these are well known. Thieves' World stuff is well known. It's a joint world, and they were reprinted in 2004. But I would argue that even these are sort of things that could be in danger of disappearing. You know, you'll always have your Star Wars stuff, like I've got a couple of the original Star Wars novelizations that I brought originally, and there's Empire there, and then I've got your versions, the anniversary edition. And as long as Star Wars is around, those are going to always be in print. But your Meteor isn't, your World War III isn't, and I just want to know what's going to happen to all this, because they are. Every book is a historical document. It is a document of the films. The Star Wars novelizations are really interesting because they were written before the film was released and the book was released before the film. So they are working off the original script of the film, and which was changed. So you've got a written document there that shows the original script. And if lesser known novelizations do something similar, where's that record gone? So yeah, so that's my little off-the-cuff little video. Who's logging all this stuff? And not everything's going to end up being digitised, because it's just not, because that takes time and people need to want to do it. And it's suddenly getting very bright in here now. So if I suddenly gone glowing, a little halo behind me, that's why. But yeah, that's my question. Who's going to preserve all these books? Bar people who collect stuff like and read stuff like that, but me? Or keep their old books from when they bought when they were a child? Who's going to do it? Anyway, I will speak to you in the next video, and thank you all for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.